So, we have officially lived in France for a month. Not vacation, not toured, lived. Long enough for the shock to wear off and for the weird truth to set in. What I want to talk about today is simple, what actually surprised us, what hit harder than expected, and what changed the way we think about daily life. Because in the last 32 days, we learned things we honestly didn't expect to learn. Things like how a simple walk can reveal an entire culture. How food that is not made by chemical corporations can fix your stomach without asking permission. How buses, bikes, scooters, and even rental cars make life feel freer than driving everywhere ever did. How healthcare can be respectful, fast, and shockingly normal. How peace feels suspicious at first. This is what we saw with our own eyes, lived with our own routines, and felt in our own stress levels. So here's what 1 month in France taught us. The good, the strange, the calm, and the things we never realized were missing. One of the biggest surprises this month was not some dramatic cultural moment. It was a walk, a simple walk. We forgot croissants at the store. When I said we needed to walk down to the boulangerie, the kids got dressed immediately. No complaining, no hesitation. They just got ready. It was 4 degrees out, and instead of complaining or turning around, we just agreed that next time we should bring hats and gloves. And the walk was not 25 minutes because it had to be. It was 25 minutes because we took our time. We were rushed by no one. We walked, we talked, and we pet the neighbor's dog. We took the slightly longer route so we could check out the progress on the Christmas market stalls at 6 Black Mountain Square. They're open now. That's what a simple morning errand feels like in a place designed for people instead of cars. I even filmed the whole thing. Plenty of cars were around, but pedestrians were clearly the priority. It's how the French are raised. People come first. Cars drive on paths made by people walking and pulling wagons. Pedestrians are not in your way when you're driving. Pedestrians came first. Human beings came before cars. And it's amazing to not feel like our lives are being threatened every time we need to cross a street. And I did not realize how much I had taken stress for granted until it was no longer the default. Another thing we keep noticing on these walks, individuality actually exists here. Many fences and gates are unique. Ironwork, carved wood, stone, handmade details, not the mass-produced panels you grab off the shelf at Home Depot. It is small, but it gives neighborhoods a human feel instead of a catalog feel. And something simple that surprised me, the Stop Pubs sticker on mailboxes. It doesn't stop real mail. It just tells the carrier not to deliver the optional junk ads and flyers. And they actually respect it. One sticker, problem solved. Meanwhile, in the US, you can wrap your mailbox in barbed wire and those coupons will still find a way in. Let me say this delicately because it matters. My digestion works here. In the United States, an upset stomach was a weekly event, usually more than once. Here, nothing. Well, except the first night. We made the mistake of eating Popeyes. I'm not counting that against France, though. Since then, 0 issues. We've eaten at different restaurants, we've bought groceries from big markets, little markets, boulangeries, and food carts in the street. We're still eating like a regular family, and yes, that includes ramen. We're not fine dining our way across the Alsace, although I wish we were. But even the cheap food here is real food. The ingredients are cleaner, the regulations are stricter. My body knows the difference. No stomach drama, no mystery reactions, no moments where I ask myself why it feels like I swallowed a brick. When food is treated as nourishment instead of a business model, your body notices. You can learn a lot about a country by walking through its supermarkets. Intermarché was kind of typical, Auchan didn't impress me, Carrefour and Hushin was fantastic. Leclerc is great every time. Lidl is basically Aldi with chainsaws. But the biggest difference is that I do not leave these stores mentally drained. In the United States, grocery shopping often feels like a stress gauntlet. Bright lights, missing staff, corporate overload. When you go to a grocery store in my home city, even the nice one, the staff are stressed, overworked, underpaid, and usually vulnerable young people with no choice. They're probably struggling with a society that pushes you out on your own the moment you graduate high school. For those that do get to attend higher education, they're still working when they should be studying, and social lives are not what they used to be. Here it's calm, predictable, human. The cashiers are not pressured to work faster. The stockers are not running people over with their carts. There are no baggers, so you do that yourself. There's also not so many teenagers. They're in school focusing on their studies, maybe having a social life, not subject to a society that puts them in some kind of debt as soon as they start on their oxygen addiction. I've been to malls, little markets, big markets, supermarkets, and hypermarkets that make Walmart look like a 7-Eleven. Not one single person has ever tried to sign me up for a credit card. Not once. One of the biggest revelations this month has been the buses. We bought bus passes for our entire stay. Even got our photos printed on them. Fancy. These buses go everywhere, including neighboring towns and tiny villages with only a few hundred people. After a month here, I've already ridden more public transport than I did in the past couple of decades back home. Winstenheim and Obergvia are as close to Colmar as Dighton and Berkeley are to Taunton. But Gatcher doesn't go anywhere near them. 17 other towns served by the bus line here have populations under 5,000. 4 have populations under 1,000. Niedermorschwihr has 561 people at last count, and it has 4 bus stops. Let that sink in. And everyone uses the buses. Kids, teens, parents, grandparents, people in casual clothes, work uniforms, suits, people who look like they're heading to negotiate EU treaties. Every class, every age, every job. There's no stigma. There's no judgment. There's no belief that buses are for poor people. It's normal. It's functional. You do not need gas, insurance, repairs, or the emotional damage of driving with lunatics. You do not need to fight for parking or revolve your life around commuting. Here, you get on a clean, modern bus and go where you need to go. You can look out the window or answer an email. I beat a high score on Sudoku last week on a bus. Colmar is more livable in every way. The United States could do this. It simply doesn't. And it's not just buses. Mobility here is everywhere. Pedal bikes, e-bikes, cargo bikes, utility bikes, standing scooters are everywhere, both the kick ones and electric, and they're not even a nuisance. They simply flow through the city like everything else. And the bike lanes are real, dedicated, protected, connected. Sometimes they're painted on the road, sometimes they're on the sidewalk, but they're so heavily used that everyone respects them, even if you think you're a big shot because you drive a Benz. And if you need a car, there are rental options everywhere. Apps, agencies, short-term services. I rented a car to go to Strasbourg to replace my defective Skechers, and the rental was cheaper and simpler than I expected. The fuel though, the fuel is the painful part. Fuel here costs about double. But the point is, you can rent a car easily because you're not forced to rely on a car every day. Walking, biking, gliding, scooting, renting a car when you need one, it all fits together. And let me say this clearly, there are so many cars available right now on these apps within a 10-minute walk of our apartment that it's unbelievable. Some pretty nice cars too. This is not some car-free paradise. Cars are everywhere. They're just not trying to murder you. They're not the center of the universe. They coexist with everything else instead of demanding the whole world bend around them. You get real mobility here before you ever need a license. Kids can walk, kids can bike, kids can scoot. Adults can get anywhere without a car. Nobody is trapped, dependent. Nobody needs to spend $1,000 a month just to have their own car in the driveway. This is real freedom, not the car payment kind, not the insurance deductible kind, actual freedom of movement, the actual ability to choose. One of the other big shocks this month was healthcare. I booked a doctor's appointment the same day. Not urgent care, not a panicked squeeze in, just a normal appointment. Here's the wild part. This was a new doctor in an office I'd never visited. It was easier and smoother than seeing the doctor I'd known for years in the United States. There was no clipboard with forms that asked the same thing 3 different ways. There was no insurance interrogation. There were no 20 pages to initial and sign. There was no paperwork asking me to acknowledge a privacy notice that no one has ever actually read. I checked in, sat down for about 4 minutes and saw the doctor. Not a nurse, not a medical assistant. The actual doctor came out, called my name, and walked me into his office. We talked, he listened, he wrote a prescription. I was out in 13 minutes. Not because I was rushed. Quite the contrary. The doctor asked if there was anything else he could help with. I was out in 13 minutes because he actually saw to my needs. Then I walked across the street to the pharmacy and had the prescription in my hand in minutes. From entering the doctor's office to leaving the pharmacy was under 30 minutes. Here's the part that really messes with your head. Here, I paid full price and it probably still cost me the same or less than it would in the United States. And it took less less than half the time that it would have taken at home. The same money for far less hassle and far less wasted time. Sign me up. Imagine how smoothly it would go if I actually had the healthcare here. Full price in France is equal to or cheaper than insured healthcare co-pays in the United States. When we're out there, every day around noon, I see kids leave school, grab lunch in the park with their friends, and then return 2 hours later. No panic, no rushing, no shouting, just kids being independent. The school doors are literally wide open. There is authority, but it's not fear-based. Kids are not treated like inmates, so they do not act like inmates. And this approach does not stop at childhood. Everything I've learned about higher education here lines up with the same philosophy. Students study, students rest, students live. They're not buried in debt. Parents are not crushed financially. Students are not stressed to the point that they give up. There's no student debt crisis or people paying loans for decades just to go to school. And while I haven't sat in a French university classroom myself yet, the numbers and the outcomes are right there. The universities here are real universities, world-class public institutions, actual places of research and learning, not the predatory for-profit scams you see advertised on TV back home, not the diploma mills that charge $40,000 a year for a piece of paper employers laugh at. I'm looking forward to seeing this firsthand as my kids get older, because from everything I've seen, higher education here is treated like a public good, not a business model. France invests in education because it strengthens society. Meanwhile, in the United States, we act like education's a luxury item most can't afford. This also took some getting used to. Seeing 6- and 7-year-olds walking around alone, waiting for the buses alone, cutting through the parks alone, made every American alarm bell go off in my head. In the United States, we are raised on fear, horror stories, worst-case scenarios, news, paranoia. Here, nobody reacts because it's normal. Kids simply exist in public, sometimes in groups, sometimes alone. Adults are still everywhere, and the communities function. It's not naive, it's normal. If a kid screamed here, people would respond instantly. Until then, they're fine and they're stronger for it. France did not give us paradise. It gave us a normal we had never known, a functioning, peaceful, imperfect normal. The strangest part is how the absence of stress feels suspicious at first. You wait for someone to yell. You wait for someone to shove past you. You wait for a horn to blast or a public meltdown. You wait for a car to jump the sidewalk because another driver stopped for a pedestrian in a crosswalk. But none of it happens. Slowly you stop bracing for impact. You stop scanning every stranger. You stop just surviving. You start living. I do not miss the stress, not one bit. I'm still adjusting, but I appreciate this new normal more every day. Here's the truth after 1 month. Corporations should never have control of your health. Profit is not everything. Everyone deserves to be healthy. A smarter society is a stronger society. Appreciated employees appreciate their employers. Sanity should not be rare. Basic needs should not be battles. Food labels should not require a chemistry degree. Kids should not be collateral damage. And life should not feel like a gamble. This month did not show me that France is perfect. It showed me that the United States is broken in ways that do not need to exist. I'm not angry. I'm disappointed that I had to leave the United States to understand what dignity in daily life feels like. This month was not a fantasy. It showed me what life looks like when systems actually help the public. There is a quote that sums this up. The care of human life and happiness, and not their destruction, is the first and only object of good government. We are the Marvel family. We are just a regular family that got tired of being tired. We're not wealthy or experts. We're here exploring our future. And after a month in Colmar, France, it is clear life can be better than the one we left. And before you go, I want to say this. One of the best parts of doing this is learning from you. So if you saw something we didn't, if you have insights from where you live, or if you have questions you want us to explore while we're here, leave them in the comments. We want to learn this with you. And yes, like every YouTube creator since the dawn of recorded history, we can really use every like and subscriber you're willing to give. If you want to follow along as we figure all this out, we have a lot to explore and all of it to share. Thanks for being here with us, and we'll see you next time.